Haiti borders with the Dominican.
Her name is Serena Buffalino. They call her Mrs. B, and her class always begins with a pledge.
Something local, something global. Haiti.
They're words that carry weight here. Helping yourself means helping others, giving back, here and a world away in Haiti.
And nobody's helping them, except for people like us.
It was through her the class learned of Haiti, of the nearly 1 million orphans, many with no school, no support, no Mrs. B in their lives.
They could not wrap their head around that.
Mrs. B's students are among Toronto's most at risk. Their challenges vary from emotional and behavioral difficulties to learning disabilities. Their trauma so severe they can't function in a regular school setting, and we aren't allowed to show most of their classmates.
For most of the kids, most of society has turned them away. And in this classroom, they're accepted. They're accepted no matter what for who they are.
Take Yolanda. She came here last year so burdened and withdrawn, she would often fall silent, sometimes for days on end. It was, she says, Mrs. B's patience, her quiet encouragement, that saved her.
She actually saves people's lives from dangers.
And perhaps that's why these marginalized kids feel such a kinship with the orphans of Haiti, and why they were moved to act.
And so when Yolanda and Jackie and Patrick said, well, Miss B, we need to build them a school.
Build a school, no easy task. They started out raising money. They sold samosas, washed cars, screened movies, you name it. And in just a few months, this little class raised $20,000. So much, it's not just a one-room schoolhouse they can build, but a full 3-story school. And so Mrs. B set off on a journey she'd dreamed of, up into the dusty mountains above Port-au-Prince to a town called Canaan. It's home to thousands of earthquake refugees who live with no running water, no electricity, and no school, until now. The first step was a temporary school. It's up and running, 53 students already in uniform. The permanent school for 250 is growing from its foundations.
It makes me want to cry because she just makes me feel so awed, and I'm very proud of her.
All of this because of a handful of students back in Canada, and Mrs. B, the teacher who believed in them.
These are for you.
At another fundraiser, a special tribute to the students, accepted by someone who without Mrs. B might not be here.
They believe in me and I believe in them, and together we not only change our lives, but we change the world around us.
For inspiring great things and seeing the potential in everyone, Serena Buffalino is this week's Everyday Hero.
This is the reason why I do what I do, is because of Yolanda and all the...
Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Let's see, we've got a little echo going on there. So welcome to Pursuing Profit with Principles. I'm your host, Regina Partain Bergman, and I am delighted to have this amazing group of women with me today. I get the pleasure of working with these women quite frequently, and they are all a delight to have in my life. We're going to go around the room and let each of them introduce themselves to you. And then we're just going to have a lively discussion today. I'm going to start with Sherry Knight, who's in the upper left-hand corner of my screen. So, Sherry, would you unmute and tell us quickly who you are, a little bit about you?
You bet. Sherry Knight, Dimension 11. And just to let everybody know why people come to me, entrepreneurs are people who are looking because they're tired of being frustrated. They get all that challenge in terms of bringing together their people, their performance, and their profits, because profits are important to us. And so we help them get control of their lives and their business. We help them put money in their pockets, and we help them gain confidence. So it's pretty exciting.
Awesome, Sherry. It is. And you do great work and have done great work around the world. So let's hear from Barb Sayers next. Barb?
Good morning. I'm Barb Sayers with Sister to Sister Enterprises. Businesses hire me to monetize their AI, virtual reality, or the metaverse because virtual online meetings are becoming the norm and people are getting tired of boxes on Zoom and other platforms. So we create whole universes and VR malls in the virtual reality space to help you market your product or service. Imagine how many more clients you could get using the metaverse. Bottom line is, I put your business in the virtual reality world and create new and exciting ways to capture your ideal client.
Woohoo! Awesome. Very good. Thanks, Barb. Miss Pearl Cox, joining us all the way from the UK.
Hello, everyone. Yes, slightly different accent from me. I'm Pearl Cox. My company is POW Pearls of Wisdom Limited. I'm a communications consultant, business and spiritual coach, mentor, speaker, trainer, and podcast host. And I work mainly with C-suite directors, entrepreneurs looking to grow in that digital space. I can help build your engagement and build it massively. And I also do an awful lot of collaboration. A lot of these wonderful ladies have already been part of my collaborations. And we grew for International Women's Day this year. Our engagement grew by 25,000% in just 1 month. And that's how I can help you.
Awesome. Thank you, Pearl. Wonderful. Sean Carroll Morris, would you introduce yourself for us?
Hi, I'm Sean Carroll Morris. I have been in publishing for over 30 years. I do ghostwriting, editing, formatting, and I can take your book from idea to a finished product.
Fantastic. Very good. Thank you. And Carol Henderson.
Okay, I'm Carol Henderson, and I have Life by Design. I help people to design their lives for their best life, no matter what's going on. I specifically work with people who have had a traumatic event that has impacted them both emotionally and physically. So often people who can't lose weight, can't get healthy, there's a reason behind it that's a traumatic event, even way back in childhood. And so people don't realize that, and I help them to find that, and I help them in real ways in the physical realm how to lose weight, be healthier, stop having the long-term health issues that they've had in the past. And so I do help people do that, spirit, soul, and body.
Awesome. Thank you, Carol. Appreciate that. Barb Ellison.
Hi, everybody. Barbara Ellison. I am founder of the Wellness Playroom, where you learn that wellness is not just about not being sick. It is about thriving in every area of your life so that you become that healthy, happy, financially free, abundant version of yourself. Because I'm on a mission to make happiness the norm rather than the exception. And part of happiness is having it all. And we can do it. And you can have it.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you, Barb. Sandy Lynch. Sandy, tell us about you.
Oh my goodness, I'm the serial entrepreneur. I am a serial entrepreneur. And this month, I'm helping people to prepare to die. I know that sounds terrible, doesn't it? But for me, I'm even ready, meaning, number one, that when I pass, my family does not have to worry about my funeral costs. And that can be high. And because none of us know when or where we're going to die, check with me on how we can make certain you and your loved ones can be covered. That so when they leave, that we can the company I represent will provide relief during the grief, because they come in and take over. See you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sandy. And as I mentioned, I'm Regina Partain Bergman, your host, and I empower entrepreneurs to create, accelerate, and maximize the profit in their business so that they can regain their time, their energy, and their relationships while creating a successful, saleable business so that they're prepared when it's time to transition into the next adventure in their life. Now, before we dive into our topic today, I just want to put a word out there about masterminds. Folks, I get to mastermind with these amazing women every month. Now, if you've ever thought about being in a mastermind, but you thought, oh, I don't know, I'm scared, maybe I don't have anything to offer, you could see every woman in this group has something different to offer. And we all learn from each other and thrive on that learning from each other. Wouldn't you agree, ladies? Yeah, absolutely. So if you've ever considered being in a mastermind, or someone has invited you to a mastermind, do consider it. It is a powerful force in your life to harness the knowledge and wisdom of others around you. I learn from these ladies every time I get with them. They all teach me. And even though I may have started the group, they all teach me. And so if you're interested in learning more about masterminds, you can reach out to me and we can talk about that. But don't ever pass up that opportunity to join a mastermind. It is such a growth opportunity for you. So with that said, I want to dive into our topic for today, which is actually about writing a book. Now, Sean mentioned that she's involved in the publishing process. We have folks in here who have either written a book or participated in a collaboration book. You can see books behind me. Those are books that I've written. And, I tell you what, there's nothing like when you get your first bestseller book, whether it was a compilation book or your own. There's just nothing like that, being notified that, hey, your book hit #1. And I had that pleasure back in 2016 with my book on marriage, when it became a bestseller in 7 countries. And it was just like, holy cow, I was just blown away by that. But let's start off with talking about why someone might want to either write a book or have a chapter in a compilation book. And I'm just going to open this up, and ladies, let's just have a chat. Okay, so feel free to unmute yourselves and anybody
your
have
book
something
is your
to...
business card.
Yeah.
It gets you out there, it gets you known, and you're known as an expert because you have a book.
Exposure.
And once you have this book out there, people see you. It's an advertisement. It's your business card. It lets people know that you are the person to go to for this topic.
Right.
And
in the process of, sorry.
I was just going to say, picking up on what Sean's saying, and literally, I give my book away as a business card so that people are aware.
Yes.
Right.
We do that often also. The thing about it, as you're writing the book and as you're going through and rewriting it again, there's a catharsis that you have to really dig deep. You have to think. You have to go and really find out why you're writing the book and what you're wanting to communicate. And so it makes you personally grow a great deal to write a book, especially if you're writing one from scratch.
What would you say, ladies, to someone who said, yeah, I think I'd like to have a book, but I don't have a clue how to write it. I don't know what to do. Pearl, let's hear from you for a second here. What would you say to someone who had that, they wanted to do it, but they were just writing is not their forte. Let's put it that way.
Well, that's exactly what I'm doing currently. Is I'm pulling together a collaboration so that anyone that wants to write a chapter can be involved. I've set up a Facebook group where I've actually had people start. I've given them pointers with questions to get them thinking, so they don't think they have to start from the very beginning. They can see from those questions I've asked, they can then start to answer and tell us about themselves, and they get to craft that chapter. And most of these wonderful ladies that you see on this panel are all contributors to the collaboration that I'm pulling together. And it's just, if you don't try, you'll never know. And when you push yourself to go further, that's when you see the biggest growth. If you can push yourself through that terror barrier and come out the other side, that's where you see the biggest growth, and you'd be amazed just what you can achieve after doing that.
And I just want to add to what Pearl's saying there, because it took me 7 years to write my book. You know, start, stop, change, all those kinds of things. But what Pearl's giving people who are involved with her book is those questions. Had I have had those questions when I started my book, it would have been a breeze, but I didn't have that. I started with nothing. And as Carol says, it gets pretty frightening. Now what? And what am I supposed to do here, etc. So yeah, writing a book can be easy.
It can be. Sean, can you talk to us about the ghostwriting process a bit? For someone who just really just is so terrified of writing, they just can't, or they don't have the time.
Well, you know, everybody has something to say. And I would say that if you really don't like to write, or you don't have the time to write, basically you have someone interview you who is going to be your ghostwriter, and because they want to get a feel for how you talk, your message needs to come across as if you were the one saying it. So you want a ghostwriter who will talk to you, find out, you know, not just the information that's in the book, how you would talk about it, how you come across verbally, and translate that into your written book. It's basically you're telling the oral story, and your ghostwriter is making sense of it to your readers. They're putting it into a logical order. They are making sure that it's still coming across in your voice, and you get to have the finished product that showcases your knowledge, but you didn't have to do all the you know, actually physically writing it down, figuring out how, you know, what order to present things in, things like that.
Very good. And I think most all of us have a cell phone these days, right? So, you know, most of those cell phones have a memo function on them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can just turn on that memo function and just talk, right? You can just talk your book and then get it to a ghostwriter. Yeah, very good.
I will say my great aunt Norma had someone write her memoirs for her. She just talked and talked and talked, and she created several cassettes worth of information about her life and sent it to her ghostwriter. The book is The Last Madam. And she had a very, very interesting life.
Yeah, that's an interesting title.
But, you know, so, I mean, really, you can ghostwrite on, or you can have a book on anything, and you can find a ghostwriter who will write on any topic.
Right.
But also, when you collaborate on a book, you're not writing the whole book. You're just maybe writing so many words. Now you really got a problem, because you may be allowed maybe 1,600 words. And so, or whatever the size, or 2 or 3 pages or whatever. So now that's a problem, because writing smaller is harder than writing a book more.
That is the editor's job.
Yeah, but the thing is,
because
what we're saying about writing, though, you know,
well, you know, but that's the whole thing, is that you write it, you get your first draft, you get it all out,
right,
and then you go back and you start cutting out.
Well, then I think I'm going to call you, Sean, because listen, I'm wanting to do little memories for my kids and
Mm-hmm.
grandkids of stories about memories,
Yeah.
you know. And I have some of the titles, like my mom's The Deer Hunter. And another one, my uncle, he was a survivor from Pearl Harbor, The Unknown Hero.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to have them done up into storybooks for my grandkids and nieces and
Great idea.
nephews.
That is a great idea.
That is a wonderful
Definitely cool.
idea.
It is.
And
Yeah.
in you know and get an illustrator to do it. And I think that would be so cool, you know. Then
Yeah, definitely.
when I pass, they'll always have something to remember. Am I
In
putting a
addition
plug
to
in there?
insurance.
You have passing on the brain.
Well, you know what? Let me tell you, there was a shock that came in the other day. A woman had just gotten her plan. 12 days later, her son and daughter were involved in an automobile accident, took out the daughter immediately. Then just the other day, the son passed. Within 1 month, that plan that she had in place came in and took care of the funeral expenses for both of them. So even if she paid for it a whole year for the whole family, which, you know, she probably did because that's what we get paid on, she was able to cover those expenses.
Yeah,
And
it's
then,
important.
yeah, so
That's
it was,
important.
yeah.
So coming back to the books,
Book.
Barb Ellison, I want to hear from you. You've participated in some collaboration books so far,
Collaboration book.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was that experience like for you?
You know, terrifying. Let's start there. Let's start there. When I was in school, I had to take a creative. It was a thing that you had to take. It was one of those obligation tests that you had to take. And I know that my teacher just said to me, "Well, you know what? Okay, Barb, yeah, you're never going to be a writer." And so she gave me just enough to pass by like 1 point. And she says, "You're never going to be a writer." So I have always had that limiting belief that I'll never be a writer. So when I was first asked to do my first one, which is the one on my right, it was part of called The Next Impactor, and it was like, who am I? All those limiting beliefs of who am I to write a book or even to write a chapter? So, but I think it was Pearl that said when you work through the fear, when you work through the fear, you can do it. But having the questions made like, what are the questions? And now I'm just taking part in a third book that our group is and fourth, because I'm going to do Pearl's book too. Once you get through that, you realize, wow, I do have a store of knowledge. One of the things that I did do for myself, though, I'll give them a plug, is I downloaded an app that's called Morning Pages. And every day I just write something. And
just to get in the habit of writing.
Just to get in the habit of writing, getting what's up here down here, whether you do it in a journal or you do it, like for me, I was writing on my computer, and it was like, oh, this is getting into that habit of doing it. And so now, like, I'm going to answer Pearl's questions, and that's my thing for this week. It's like, oh yeah, I can do that, because you're getting into the habit of it. And then one other thing I will say, a friend of mine, she does book compilations. She said every person who has been in business for any length of time has a book or 2 or 3 on their computer because of stuff that they have either written or been part of, or little PDFs that they've done. And what she does is she goes into their computer, gets all this stuff, and she has enough to create a book out of stuff that you've already done. So there's and plus I loved the fact that it is your calling card. It is when somebody says, oh wow, gee, it's part of 2 books.
Yeah, and it can also, in addition to being your calling card, it can also be your way of helping in the world, you know. So I have business books, but then I have personal books, you know, my marriage book, the grief book that will be hopefully published by the end of this month. It's further along now than it's ever been. finishing the edits. But there's an opportunity to reach more people in the world than you ever could without it, right?
And one of the things for me, writing the chapters, it really made me dig into who am I within what I do. And because that is such a defining thing that you teach us all the time, is you have to know your why. Why are you doing it? Because that's who you're going to attract. Those are where you're going to get your ideal clients from. But if you don't know who you are yourself, how are you going to attract? Because nobody's going to follow you because you don't know who you are. So writing the book, really, especially this last one, and now writing Pearls, it's really made me hone in on, oh yeah, who is Barbara?
Yeah. And you're really getting that down. I love it.
I'm getting it so down that it's all about wellness, and wellness is not just about not being sick. Yeah. Yes, I can help you with that if you have something. Absolutely. But it's not just about that. And that's where most people think of wellness. It's about having spiritual wellness and financial wellness and personal wellness, and just that wellness of that you're going to thrive in your life. Be abundant. So,
yeah. Awesome. I just want to go back and touch on something Sandy had said as well. And she was talking about the limitation of, whether it's 1,600 words or 3,000 words. And that's where I think this process of having whoever's putting this book together, having them actually supply some questions. And then you're just answering those questions, and it becomes so much easier to get out the amount of content that you need. Not to go too far over or be too far under. So I want to go to Barb Sayers. We haven't heard much from Barb Sayers. Now, Barb has been a writer since she was a child. Barb, you are muted. If you'll unmute.
Can I say something real quick while she's unmuted?
Sure. Sure.
For those of y'all looking for a place to start, I have a friend, and his name is Victor Leal, had a big restaurant here and everything, but he would write on his Facebook about his father and about his mother and about growing up. And he's an amazing storyteller anyway, but all he needs to do his book is to go take those posts and put them in. I've been after him for like 2-3 years to do it, but even offered to help him with it. But to go back and look at some of the things, if you post things about your family, like Sandy was saying, memories and such, if you're posting things like that, go back and gather them and see if you can compile that into a memory book, but a longer adult type memory book.
Along that line, real quick, also for Barb Answers, would be if you've been interviewed on podcasts or other places, if you could gather those interviews together, that could be a source of a book as well. All right, Barb, we want to hear from you.
What is it you want to hear?
So what is writing for you? And I know that you haven't published a book yet. At least I don't think you have, correct? You have been a writer since as long as I can remember.
Right. And I love writing poems, and I am in a collection of poems several years ago. It's a 3-volume thing, and somebody voiced.
So you are published.
Yes.
Awesome.
Somebody voiced one of my poems.
Oh, very cool.
So I think my first real experience was writing a song when I don't know, it was around 12 years old or something. I can't remember. Between 12 and 16, I would guess. And the company liked the song, but I didn't have the money to move forward with it, so that fell down. But I kept on writing, and I've written tons of things with both, like poems or. I've never written stories. But I've written for all the businesses that I've worked in. They recognized my writing talents, and I helped write the first buyer-seller handbook for the real estate company I worked with in Hawaii. I've written policy documents for Fish and Wildlife, Department of the Interior. I
It's
don't
in
know.
your blood.
On and on, yes.
And you help people with their email campaigns. You write emails.
Yes, I write emails. That's my other shtick. I do
Yeah.
email marketing.
Yeah. Awesome. Sherry, I'd like to come back to you for a moment and talk about your book for a moment and that process that maybe a little bit about the process you went through with your book. Yours is quite a different book than most of us have dealt with.
Yes,
Yours
because my
is
book
different.
is not only a book, but it's also a workbook to help people move through things. So each chapter also has questions for people to be able to respond to for themselves, because it's a growth book. And from that perspective, yeah, writing it was a real challenge. But in the end, somebody gave me an idea and I went, I can do that. And so it's a bit of a survey between, because I'm from Canada, between Canadian women and American women, and looking at what's the difference or the similarities between how we look at success. And so it was very interesting because I found that, you know, whether it was being a grandmother or whether it was running a multi-million-dollar business or being a daughter, being somebody who's just starting out in life, it was very interesting to see the responses. And the number one response that came from people was, we need a positive attitude. So, you know, all the way along, it was, yes, same for women in Canada, same for women in the US, et cetera. Certainly not a scientific study because there weren't enough people in it, but very interesting for those people and women that I chatted with that it was the same, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way along. It was very interesting. Yes. So that's another way to go about doing a book, is interviewing other people and
absolutely
making sure that fits in.
Yeah, my books, my life books, my grief book and my marriage book have a lot of that element to it, of interviews. For my marriage book, I interviewed couples around the world who had happy, successful marriages, and that formed a big part of the basis of the book. And for my grief book, I interviewed people who had lost a spouse or a child.
Right.
And so, you know, there's a lot that can be gained from those interviews. Let's just do a final round, ladies. We're about out of time here. So if you could each take about just 30 seconds to a minute max, and your final thoughts about writing a book or being in a compilation book. Let's start with Sean.
Well, a compilation book is really a great place for you to start. You dip your toes in the water. You because there's so many people, it's easy for that book to get pushed to an Amazon bestseller. And then you now have best-selling author to add to your resume. It's really the perfect place for you to start because it's minimal effort, because you're not writing a whole book, but a lot of reward.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. Barb Sayers, and you are muted, Barb. So
I am in 2 compilation books right now, the one Pearl's doing and Pat Iyer. So that's giving me a little taste of writing about me, which I usually don't do. I write about other people and ideas and so forth, but not about myself. So I'm looking forward to exploring that aspect and seeing what else I can add to my writing repertoire.
Awesome. Thank you, Barb. Sherry.
Well, one thing I think that we need to remember is it doesn't have to be 1,600 or 3,000 or whatever number of words. Today you get little books, and that could be 100 words. It doesn't matter the length of it. It's just that desire to get your thoughts, your elements out that you want to share with other people so that you can help them build their lives, whatever that means.
Excellent. Thank you. Sandy. Oops, we lost Sandy. She must, so hopefully she'll make it back in. Barb Ellison.
The biggest thing for me, for everybody out there, just start writing. Just sit down and start writing.
Yeah.
Whatever comes into your head.
Right.
And
Right.
there will be, you will really find, at least I have, that there's a theme. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's like, oh yeah. And then all of a sudden you're just writing along and then, as I said before, just get into the practice of doing it. And it's kind of like a mind dump in some ways.
Yeah.
And just, get it out, just put it down. Just start.
Daily journaling can
Daily,
be that for you as
daily,
well.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
Just start.
Thank you, Barb. Sandy, welcome back.
I'm learning how to use this machine. One thing also in compilation books, you want to make certain that who's ever the head of it, that their mission or their vision or their title or their story fits along with your story. Like if you're doing one on grief or marriage, you don't want to be coming in on recipes.
Yeah, right. Good point. Excellent point.
That's key. So you've got to do that. And you'll also have speaking opportunities out of that. So it's a win-win situation, really.
Right. Very good. Thank you, Sandy. Yeah, and I want y'all to think about, the word author is a part of the word authority, right? As you become an author, a published author, it increases your authority in your field. Carol Henderson, final thoughts.
Barb Ellison kind of stole my thing about just start, but in the fact of the authority is it has been amazing to see the difference in people's countenance and just their approach to us when they find out we have a published book. It's like, oh, okay. It's like they sit up and they listen with more intent to what we have to say when they find out that we do have that published book. And it really has made a difference. And we do give it away more than it, we sell. We give away a lot. It is a good business card. And we personally set the price as low as they would let us because we want the information out. It is a godly book and we want the information out to the world. And but the way that people respond is truly astounding.
Very good. Barb Ellison, you look like you had another comment you wanted to add.
Can I just add to that of what Carol just talked about? I think one of the things that I say this applies in this situation too. Sometimes we have to get over ourselves.
Yeah.
And it is not about us. It is about the message that you need to get out there. So like for me to put my books on my wall that people can see it, that's been a huge for me. Because I've had them, but I haven't really told people about them.
Right.
And the other day it was like, for heaven's sakes, Barbara, you have got to, this is part of your message to impact the lives of the people around us. And the two book titles are, one of them is The Next Impactor, The Impactors, because I was part of a group, and then Ready to Rise. Yike.
Yeah.
Ladies and gents, get your book out there and help everybody else.
And
another way, go ahead, Sandy.
One other thing, when you write, sometimes what happens, in life, we put things in the closet and forget about them. Mm-hmm. And then when we start writing, some of those things come out. And then you're sitting there.
Exactly.
And then you don't have to go to the therapist that week because you've got it all.
Exactly.
But the other part of all of this is if you are in business and you choose to write and you choose to speak, it ups your fees.
Oh, yeah.
Because
absolutely.
You are now an authority in terms of what it is that you're doing.
But one thing Barb said that's true. You might save one life.
Right.
You might save one life because you don't know. People think I'm the only one here suffering that way. And you'll be surprised how many other people, they either know someone or they're experiencing it. And they're going to think, they hear your story, they're going to say, Mine's not that bad. And she came out okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
yeah. So between therapy for yourself, therapy for others, it's a win-win situation.
It is indeed.
The therapists may not like us, but the keyboards, we're going to have to get waterproof keyboards and we have to walk
Yeah. And going back to what Sean said about a business card, about your book being a business card, don't forget to put your book in your signature on your emails. It
Oh,
needs to
right.
be below your name, what books you have out there, so that people can see it and you can link it to to a link where they can get it even. So again, you're putting that information out to more people, getting the word out, because you all have great messages, that others need to hear. Just like what Barb and Sandy were just saying. We each have a message to deliver to the world,
Right.
and multiple messages often.
And that the
But
world
if
needs
we
to
don't
hear.
share, yeah, and if we
That
don't
the world
share it,
needs to hear.
the world's not going to hear it if we don't share it. Absolutely. And they need to hear it.
And it'll be unadulterated. When I went to college, I learned about Black history. Okay. That was not filtrated through high school. I want to go back and see my high school. They didn't give me the right education. So you're
Ladies,
getting your
thank
story,
you.
your history. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. You know the validity of it.
Yeah.
So, ladies, thank you again for joining me this morning. This has been a great discussion. Folks, these beautiful women join me every first Monday of the month to have a discussion around the topic. And I love where we are going with this, and just being able to get to share their expertise with you. Like I said, again, another benefit of this mastermind that we participate in is learning from one another.
Right.
We're able to share our challenges with each other and offer solutions to one another. And then we also just learn from each other, because there's a wealth of experience in this group. And I would say that's true of pretty much any mastermind that you might join. So thanks again for joining us. And I will see you next week. And we as a group will see you all again next month, first Monday of the month. Thanks so much for joining us. Bye-bye.
So Bolu is a 13-year-old singer-songwriter from Canada who between March and June of 2020 wrote 2 songs on important issues, as we know, the coronavirus and the Black Lives Matter movement. Her latter song titled Make It Right as the 2020 What Have You Become, and goes on to ask, why are people so cruel? touching on the listeners and her gentle call to action. Welcome, Queen, little Queen. I call all ladies queens, and you are a young queen.
Good
Thank you
morning.
for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are just out there just doing it and just making all the adults look bad. You're making all the older people have to get up and take some action here. So I am just so proud of you. Before we even start, I just, when I seen that you were coming on the show and reading and listening to your music and your song, especially about Make It Right, it's like you're just from like a different generation just came in and said, look, you got to get this together. You got to listen to what I got to say. So maybe towards the end, you might be able to sing just a little bit of Make It Right. Hopefully, if you feel comfortable. But let's just get into asking some questions from you, because this is, I guess, I'm amazed. You're blowing my mind right now. So now, like I said, at your age and being this amazing singer, as I keep saying, please explain what inspired you to do what you do and wanted to sing and take on this journey.
Okay. Well, I always love to sing. I've been singing for like so long. So I've always like just wanted to find ways to inspire people and like teach people in a way about things and like what's going around in the world, because there's a lot, we wouldn't know a lot of stuff if it wasn't for people sharing stuff. So what I did is I wanted to sing, and yeah, I used my music to share different stories and different perspectives that I have on different things. So yeah, I just wanted to share it with the world.
That's so awesome. Your voice is so beautiful. Like I said, I listened to them songs just the other day, and it's not just only the singing that you're singing, but you have power behind it, and there's a meaning for it. So going right into that, I know you wrote the two powerful songs concerning, what the world is dealing with right now. We have the virus, unfortunately, and then Black Lives Matter, which is the whole injustice, what's going on in the world, as you can see. So, what made you use your voice, especially at the, like I said, age of 13, to just say, you know what, I'm not only going to sing and write, but there's a movement behind here. So what made you just say, I need to do this?
Okay, well, for my first, like the coronavirus song, what made me want to write that one is I just wanted everyone to know that we're all in this together, and that they should do the right things and try to stay safe to the best of their ability. And yeah, so that's the reasoning behind that one. And then for Make It Right, I was just seeing everything that's going on, and it's mind-boggling because it's been going on for like generations to generations, and it's still the same thing's happening, and you would think it'd get better, but enough is enough. And I saw all the riots and everything just going on, and I was like, this is not it. This is not right. We need to get better. We need to change, and we need to actually start loving each other, become a community, and just spread love and kindness, because that's the only way that we can, get better and heal. So I wrote a song and I put it on YouTube, hoping that people would see it and hoping that people would get the message I wanted them to take away from it, and they'd understand it and they'd feel, the pain, or they can't even feel the pain, partially the pain of what people have been going through. So that was my reasoning behind that one.
Wow, wow. Yeah, it is sad. I mean, just for you, I know you're looking at this on TV, you're hearing the news, because it's all over, and and people are dying from this. So, with you being your generation, now, what would you tell, your age group, in all generations, not just your age group, what do you think needs to happen to kind of make this change, to kind of change it from, like you said, showing the love and everything? What do you think really needs to be done?
I think we need to accept what happened in the past and what's continuing to happen, and we need to really just understand. Everyone needs to just understand what's happening and not like look at it as just another thing happening. And we need to, take notice of it, even more notice, and then that's when you can start forgiving and, spreading love and healing. And yeah, so I think the first step is to just acknowledge, then you can forgive, and then you can heal.
Now, I know you have other your friends and everything that you hang around with. Do you like talk? Do you all have like those type of talks and kind of make some changes like within like when you go to school or I know you're probably I don't know if you're homeschooled right now, but
Yeah.
do you have those conversations with your friends to get them to understand that as well?
Well, not really. Like, I mean, we do the typical like just being kind to your teacher and classmates, but no, not necessarily those type of conversations.
Now, do these things because since you're doing this, because you are, believe me, you're doing a movement here. You are making a big change. So, do they say things to you because it's like this is different than like you said, the normal day that you would talk to your friends. What do they say to you by what you're doing, as far as your music and
They're
saying?
really, oh, sorry, they're really
Go ahead.
yeah, it's great. Some of my friends commented on my videos and on my songs, so it's amazing. Honestly, they're really supportive and I love them. So yeah.
Oh, they totally understand why you're doing it. I mean, you're a beautiful singer, but they understand that there is a meaning behind it as well, right? Awesome, awesome. So now again, making such a big change at your age, truly teaching us, and like I said earlier, you're teaching adults how to stand our truth and how to stand to go out there, to believe the changes need to happen in the world. What would some of your future goals look like? I mean, I know you're 13 years, so you have a long way to go with a lot of things. What is like one or two things that you're thinking about, moving ahead of what you're doing now?
Okay, let me say three. So something closer is just continuing to write more songs, music videos, remixes, continuing to inspire people with my music and writing about more messages and different things. And then number two is probably hopefully to get bigger and continue to inspire people kind of around the same thing. Get into the high school I want. Yeah, and then number three is probably to become a pilot. I do air cadet. That's one of my like big goals. Yeah, that's my
Do
job. I want.
you want to be a pilot when you get older?
Yeah. Yes, I.
Oh my God, look at you. So now what inspired you? Now you got me asking another question. Now, what inspired you to say, I want to be a pilot when I get older?
When I was 6 years old, actually, we went on a plane. It was to South Africa to go visit my family members, and I just loved everything about it. And when I got older, I went to like programs, Girls Take Fright and Jazz, different incorporations to like help you advance your knowledge on aircrafts and just I got to do a airplane simulation, which was amazing. But someone told me that going on a plane, you can't really get the full experience just because you're with different people on like a commercial plane. So then I got to go on a private plane, and yeah, it was amazing. It was with my mom too, and she was like, "Oh," because when it's going down, it's a little bit more shaky. You can feel it more, but it was. I loved it. So.
Wow. I know your mother was like, I can't believe that we're on this plane. So I know
Yeah.
there's not too many, now I'm thinking there's not that many women pilots out there. So you would be making another huge change. I think that's like your middle name now. You're just a movement and you just say, oh, there's gonna be some change. I don't care what people say. I'm here to just put it out there. You're an advocate for change, and I'm loving every minute because we need to multiply you. We really do. We need to multiply you and have other young ladies out there doing what you're doing. So I wish the best for you about what you want to do as far as being a pilot, because like I said, I don't think there's that many ladies out there. So you'd be taking on another change to head on, so people can say, you know what, maybe I could do it too. She did it, I could do it.
That's for inspiring people to reach out and do their dreams.
Yes, yes, yes. So now, what would you say? Now, I know singing is one of them, but what would you say is one of your other superpowers that you have, and why?
Oh, one of my superpowers is probably I do public speaking as well. Yeah, so at school I used to do speeches, and when we go back to school later, I'm not sure if we're still going to do them, but I would do public speaking, and I'd move on into different levels, and yeah, so I think that's one of my strengths.
One of your, yeah, one of many of your superpowers, I can tell.
Yeah.
Now, which you're speaking, what kind of speaking public speaking do you do? Is it like more motivational or some?
Yes, it's motivational based. So we all have to do a speech at my school. So you just have to choose a topic and kind of just, speak on it. So last year I spoke about just self-love and feeling good in your own body. And yeah, people love that speech. So yeah.
See, now you're a speaker, you want to be a pilot. Boy, you're teaching us how to say stop all this hatred and stuff and start love and everything. I don't know. I don't know. After a little while, I'm not gonna be able to even talk to you. So I'm so glad that I can say today that I was able to interview your awesomeness, because you'll probably be like, I don't have time. I got so much stuff going on, people. And that's good. So now, before I ask this other question, would you mind singing just a little bit of one of your songs? Really good for you.
Okay. Mm. 2020, what have you become? I'm just wondering what's going on. Why are people so cruel? What was done to you? People preaching truth are getting ignored. Don't even know what to do anymore. Have they not realized that it's time to make it right? What am I seeing from my eyes? When will they just apologize? Enough of all this crime. Now it's time to make it right. 2020, what have you become? I'm just wondering what's going on. Why are people so cruel? What was done to you? People preaching truth, getting ignored. Don't even know what to do anymore. Have they not realized that it's time to make it right? What am I seeing from my eyes? When will they just apologize? Enough of all this crying. Now it's time to make it. Enough of wasted lives. This is wrong, no, it ain't fine. Can we all just stop for a fight and make it right? Yes, that song. Thank you.
No, thank you. That all. I mean, I was listening to it the other night because I brought it up to listen to it, and then when you're singing it, you can just hear the soothing of the healing that's needed for this world. So thank you. Whew, that's
I'm glad you liked it.
Oh my God! Glad I liked it. The whole world loves this, and just the words, of saying, we need to make it right. We really need to make it right, and we need to. I mean, I always tell people we're to this point at this level is there's no way, there's no other way but going better. instead of going back, because we've been going back now. So it's time to move forward. And when people hear, you know, music coming out of you and other young generation, somewhere we have to tell ourselves we have to get it right. We have to be better. So thank you so much for sharing your gifts. Now, is there any last words that you would like to say to the audience? I mean,
Always.
I know the music alone said the last, but is there any last thing that you want to say to the audience?
I just want to say to whether you're young or old, you know, there's no limit to not only, you know, reaching your dreams, but speaking out. Because a lot of people are afraid of speaking out because they're afraid what other people will think. But, you know, just ignore those other people. There will always be other people. You know, just keep doing what you're doing, keep loving what you're doing, and just stay passionate, you know, just do what you want to do. And yeah, if you want to follow up with me, you can always follow up with me on my socials. I have Instagram, Facebook. Instagram's Blue Sings One, as well as my Facebook, and my YouTube's Blue Sings, capital B, capital S. So yeah, you can check out any of my socials. Even TikTok I have. So yeah.
Wonderful. I'm glad. It's funny. I was going to ask you about, you know, how they can contact you, and you went flowed right into it. So thank you for letting everybody know where they can contact you. And I'll also make sure when I post your interview that they know where to contact you, where to hear your lovely voice and see all what you're trying to do to make this world a much better place than what we need to make it. So thank you so much, young queen.